Hello there, lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and last week I asked you, lovely lot, when do you think Zelda Breath of the Wild takes place on the crazy complicated Zelda timeline? It sort of goes down like that. You all left some cracking comments, but of course, can't read out them all, so here's just what a few of you had to say. Real Poketendo NL says, judging from the voice acting, I think this will take place right after the CDI trilogy. My boy, you have forgotten the first rule of the Zelda CDI games, and that is, do not talk about the Zelda CDI games. Cross Blake reckons that it takes place at the very start of the hero is defeated timeline and has some pretty good reasons to boot. This theory really does hold some pretty serious water. It's all talking about the age of decline and stuff like that, and how Link's been sleeping for 100 years, and Calamity Ganon is going about his business and he's been trying to take over the kingdom for 100 years or something like that. It does make sense, although it maybe sort of would take place a little bit after. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I'm starting to get into my own theories, which we shan't do in this video, because this isn't about me, it's about you. Byron Guerrerson, apart from having a wonderful name that's very, very difficult to say when you're a bumbling Englishman like me, agrees. Smithy Invasion bets me £300 that the game takes place sometime after Skyward Sword. Even if I were a gambling man, I don't think I'd take you up on this, because the game has the Master Sword in it. That's pretty obvious. Skyward Sword didn't, did it? I can't remember. I didn't really play much of Skyward Sword. Matthew Squirtleboy Moskovitz says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. The Pebble Tribe says that they believe it takes place after Super Mario 3D World. Unfortunately, you're wrong, because if you knew your Mario/Zelda crossover timeline, you'd know that this takes place before, because obviously you've got in Mario 3D World, you've got the collapse of the Mushroom Kingdom, which of course ties in with the collapse of the original Hyrule Castle in The Legend of Zelda Wand of Gamelon, because the water floods and the Ganon's defeated and the Master Sword gets picked up by Mario and he says, I have the power! Ducas 10,000 says that it will take place after they die because it's going to be delayed again. In all seriousness, I genuinely do believe that it will not be delayed again. I do really think that this is the last time it's been delayed, because with the NX coming out and everything, I really think they put all their eggs in one basket. It's probably going to be completed way before it actually needs to be released. They've given themselves a huge margin of error. They're going to be fine. It's going to be released then. If it's not, I will eat something inedible. Shizzy reckons that it takes place before The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, because Hyrule is in sort of disarray and it's going to be flooded and filled with water by the goddesses to basically save it, which I like the idea of, but it's got one fatal flaw. If it does take place before The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, then we're already going to know what happens at the end of it. We know that it's going to be flooded, which is bad jubies all round, if you pardon the pun. Count Sicken reckons that it takes place after the original two Legend of Zelda games, so after the first open world NES game, and after the second not so open world, more sort of jumpy around, down stabby Zelda 2. Because of the whole futuristic thing and everything, I do agree that that could well be the case, because I believe that's sort of the furthest along the timeline, and obviously you've got everything collapsing, and obviously the bigger worlds, which obviously the original two had, so yeah, I think that's plausible, I really do. Nick Seadog reckons that it cannot take place on the timeline because of two contradicting factors. These are namely the Koroks and the Bridge of Eldin, which cannot take place in the same timeline, supposedly, but we don't know that for sure now, do we? Who's to say that future technology can't bring things over from another world? Or maybe it can sort of, I don't know, maybe bring the Bridge of Eldin from a crossover that would probably be easier than an entire species of Koroks, but who knows? We don't know. The Legend of Zelda is fantasy, so anything can happen. It does seem kind of contradictory, but then again, the whole sort of timeline's kind of contradictory, so... Within the same vein, Frank Zelda 12 says that it could be an entirely new timeline. You know what? That's just what the Zelda timeline needs. More complexity, more chronology, more split timelines, more craziness. Bo Gibson says that they think it's the very start of the Zelda timeline. Again, going back to what I said about Skyward Sword, it does have the Master Sword in it, and so that doesn't really make any sense, because the Master Sword, I know for sure, did not exist before Skyward Sword, and there was something in the Minish Cap where it was made because of the Force Sword, and Zelda's complicated. Basically, no. Bernie Sanders, not the real one, I presume, reckons that it happens after The Wind Waker and has some very, very solid reasons for this. Apparently, when you find salt, it says from it's a dried up ancient sea. I did not know that. That is a really, really strong point. Link is wearing a similar outfit to that at the beginning of The Wind Waker. That's kind of, sort of, I wouldn't really take that as read. Link is wearing a similar I just read that one out. The Koroks are in the game, of course, yes, that's something that I've talked about before. before, because the Koroks have only been in Wind Waker, and therefore, I mean, you could argue that they could evolve along another timeline from the Kokiri, but I don't know. I think it's more sort of substantial that they would come from the Wind Waker, the original Koroks, rather than just sort of evolving in tandem. That just seems very unlikely. But then again, it's a Zelda game. Aonuma has said repeatedly how much he'd like to try and make the landscape very vertical, and the verticality comes with the peaks high enough to be the Wind Waker Islands. Yes! That is another very, very, very key point that, again, because basically I believe what this chap's saying. I think it's post-Wind Waker as well. And the last point, Hyrule looks mostly destroyed except the castle, which was protected by magic in the Wind Waker. That I don't believe in so strongly, because stuff can happen, magic, things can be rebuilt, doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. But nevertheless, a really good theory. I like it. Well done, Bernie. It's good. And finally, Weke Pakekekeki says, F the timeline and just play Zelda. Yes, I do think we can all take a leaf out of this book. Honestly, I think the only reason there's a timeline is because so many people were clamoring for it. I honestly don't believe that there's actually that much chronology with the Zelda, and it's just sort of, it's a Zelda game, enjoy it. It doesn't have to make that much sense. I think just play the games and enjoy them. I'd like to think there's some chronology in there, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it, and I don't think anyone should. Massive thanks to everyone who left a comment. Of course, I can't read all of your comments out, I'm afraid, because I would be here for far too long, and I don't want to die just yet, but you do have a chance to have one of your comments read out in the next video. And so, my question for you this week is, what is objectively the most important Nintendo game, and why? Is it a super obvious one like Super Mario Bros, or is it something a little bit earlier like Game & Watch, or maybe something a lot later, maybe Wii Sports? Let us know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you shuffle around with that subscribe button until you can't see the wood for the trees, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye. Matthew Squirtable, where the hell did I put that thing? You would know that Mario Kart 8 takes place before, and Ganon is responsible for that, then Hyrule is flooded, ends Ganon's rule in... And finally, Weke Pakekekeki says, forgo the timeline and just play Zelda. You didn't think I'd actually say it, did you?